I know at this point one day I saw Dave Hearns at St. Mary's, and I said, "Hey Dave, what's going on? Why are you here?" And he said that his mom was in the hospital, so I got to meet his mom a few times, and what an amazing lady that she is. And then I started hearing stories about Tony Russett and the accident that he had, and I knew that he was at KGH at this point. And I never really knew Tony that well. In these four walls, we'd always said hello to each other, nodded as we went by. I'm not going to tell you Tony's story. I hope someday that maybe he can get up here and tell his story for you. But I will tell you that Tony is a very brave man, and he has so many qualities that I admire. You know, just before I left St. Mary's, I remember going into Tony's room that was right beside mine, and I put this little stuffed lion on his pillow, and I wrote him a little note, and I said, "Tony, I'm passing the torch off to you, and now it's your turn to be full of fight and full of courage." I was 3 months at St. Mary's, and I remember just before I left them to get into the real world that I bought this little plaque, a little ceramic plaque, and it said on it, "Never, never, never give up." And they did me so proud by taking this plaque and putting it on one of the pillars in their physio room. And just recently I went back to St. Mary's for a checkup, and I went in to say hello to the staff in the physio room, and I saw the plaque, and they said to me a little story about this older gentleman that had a stroke, and they had him now, and he was doing his exercises in there one morning, and he started to get tired, and they stopped him and they said, "Hey, why don't you just have a rest?" You know, and he just pointed at the plaque and he said, "Read it," and he kept doing his exercises. So that made me feel pretty good. So coming home, arriving back here at Procter & Gamble, and I saw a couple of people that I hadn't seen for a long time, and they were Steve Ferris and Rhonda Signer. And I tell you, don't those people look amazing? You know, they took a lot of dedication and hard work to do what they did, and I somehow can't think that they're leading a healthier lifestyle now. You know, it's really not so bad being handicapped. You get a lot of people smiling at you. You get people holding doors open for you. They say sorry when they're getting away. And you know, I don't have to buy shoes anymore the rest of my life. And you know, I get some pretty amazing parking spots right now. I lost a lot of body parts. For 5 months, I had to use a bedpan. I had trouble to feed myself, trouble to shave, trouble to brush my teeth. And there's sometimes I look at myself and I say, why me? Why did this happen? I can't believe that this happened. And yet, somehow I think I might be the luckiest person in this room because I'm alive. And I smile every day just thinking about that. You know, I think the real heroes in our stories are our caregivers. The Elaine Russets who look after Tony, the Krista Packs and the Don St. Dennises that look after their dads, and the Mary Joes of the world. So here's my take on all of this. We need to eat healthy, and we need to live healthy, and we need to move. You know, we need to get off of our couches. We need to take our kid around the block at night for a bike ride, and we need to go walking with our spouses, and we need to go skiing, and we need to go sailing, and we need to just move. You know, enjoy your family. Build your family and friends relationships. You know that trip or that project that you're going to do or go on when you retire? Don't wait. Do them now. You know, you don't know when someday something might change in your life. Smile. Do fun things. Tell your coworkers about those fun things. You know, I'm friends with Cheryl Gerard's husband, Darren. And Darren and I have gone golfing together, and we've played ball together, and Darren has sold a couple of houses for me. And just the other day he was over to the house and he told me that he was a black belt in karate. And I said, wow. I said, that's an amazing thing to me. I said, you know, you just don't do those things overnight. That takes work, that takes drive, that takes dedication. So tell those things to your coworkers because they're interested, they're exciting things. You know, we work 8 to 12 hours at a high pace, and it's stressful. It's a competitive, global world out there, and that's why we have to do this stuff. But we need to stay healthy, and in a healthy state of mind. We need to be positive. You know, life is just so much easier being positive. Negative seldom works. It's so draining. You know, I heard a lot of inspirational quotes when I was in the hospital. A couple that I really liked were, you can't direct the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And work with what you have, not what you don't have. You know, you don't have to live every day like it's your last, but try to live life to its fullest. You know, just ask yourself what you might like to do if this is the first day of the rest of your life. Now, I'm getting real close to wrapping up, and I just want to tell you that we have a little video for you to watch that Mary Jo has put together about my journey. But more importantly, I want to thank you for the honor and the privilege of being able to come here before you today and to share my story. Thank you very much.